Hello and welcome to this video on the verbs ser and estar. And on this video we're going to be focusing on the uses of these verbs. Okay, so specifically when do we use ser or any of its forms, and when do we use estar or any of its forms. Just a word of warning, all the examples I'm going to be giving here, of everything I'm going to be saying will be based on the present tense. So everything is, now, what's happening, what someone is, things like that. But that doesn't mean that these verbs can only be used in the present tense, okay? The same principles will apply to past, future, conditional, any sort of tense. So to start with, we've got here the verb ser in its forms in the present tense. I've put over here, you've got a little cheat sheet where if you've forgotten what each form means, you've got it here. Okay, so here we've got the forms of the verb ser, and here we've got the forms of the verb estar. Let's see when we use one and the other. The reason why we've got two verbs for where in English you say to be, I don't really know. My feeling is that we didn't used to have them, and then someone thought that it would be a nice way of annoying non-native speakers, and then that was developed. I don't think that's the case. It's probably just something that comes from Latin. I don't know, but the fact is, it's something that is a bit tricky to sort of handle and tricky to get to grips with when you are not a native speaker. The only way how you can get to grips with is just practice, and just at the beginning really thinking, is it ser or is it star? And bit by bit it will just come natural to you. Okay, so let's have a look. I've put a few examples of a few sentences where we use ser or we use estar. So if you want, what you could do at this point is pause this video, look at the sentences and start trying to work out your own rules. Okay, you could start thinking, okay, so if here we use estar and here we use ser, it might be because of this or it might be because of that. I would really strongly recommend you to do this, because it's really good to think for yourself. And then once you've tried to work it out for yourself, then watch the video or finish watching the video and then check if you were right. So let's have a look at the first example. For this, we're going to be looking at two sentences side by side. Okay, this sentence and this sentence. Over here, this sentence, mi primo es muy alto. Okay, mi primo es muy alto. My cousin is very tall. Let's compare this sentence to this sentence. Mi primo está triste. My cousin is sad. Okay, so my cousin is very tall. My cousin is sad. Here we've got one of the cases where we'll use ser or estar in contrast. They will mean different, they will convey different meanings. So, mi primo es muy alto. Why have we got es here? The reason why we're using es here is because my cousin being tall, okay, this is a permanent characteristic, or pretty, okay, pretty permanent characteristic. Permanent characteristic. Okay, so mi primo es muy alto is telling me what someone or something is like. Yes, do we agree on this? What someone or something is like. And this is a pretty, excuse me, it's a pretty permanent characteristic. Said in other words, we could also say that it's quite an intrinsic characteristic. So it's sort of almost part of of the nature of that person or of that thing. Okay, intrinsic, tricky word. Okay. So my cousin being tall, generally speaking, he's tall, and that's that. Okay, it's permanent, that's what he's like. Now, if we compare this to this over here, mi primo está triste. Mi primo está triste. Now, we'll see that here we have used está. Okay, we've used this form here, está. He is sad. Now, this means my cousin is sad. So, is my cousin being sad a permanent characteristic? Not really. Yeah, it's a feeling, it's a mood. That's how he's feeling at the moment. So it is a temporary characteristic. temporary characteristic. Okay, and often and it's also a characteristic. It's not intrinsic. It's not it's not in his nature. He's not a sad person. He's just feeling sad. Okay, so often we can also think of it as that it's the result of something. Okay, him being sad, it's sort of the consequence of something that might have happened to him. Or okay, so estar expresses temporary ideas or things that are the result of things. A very very characteristic use of estar is to describe or to talk about someone's appearance. Okay, someone's appearance, someone's moods, like it happens here, and someone's health. Okay, if you're healthy, if you're ill, often we will use estar. So still on this, let me show you two sentences which are almost the same, but by using ser or using estar, we're changing the meaning of that sentence. Okay, so I can have the sentence, for example, Antonia es guapa. Antonia es guapa. And I can have the sentence over here. Antonia está guapa. Okay? Antonia es guapa. Antonia está guapa. Now, taking into account what we said earlier about being permanent or temporary, I want you to think what might be the difference between one sentence and the other. So this is something permanent. This is something temporary. And if you think about it, you'll realize that the difference in these two sentences is that if I say Antonia es guapa, I'm saying that she is pretty, okay? She is pretty, she is good looking. If I say Antonia está guapa, okay, Antonia está guapa, what I'm saying here is that she is looking pretty, okay? So we're talking about appearance. She is looking pretty at the moment, currently. Okay, it could be because, I don't know, because of what she's wearing, because of how she's done her hair today. Today she's looking particularly pretty. Okay, while here, Antonia es guapa, this means she is a good-looking person. She is a pretty person. Whatever she does, she is pretty. Okay, so I hope you can appreciate the difference between ser and estar. Okay, I realize I've given you the two examples I've given you here are with es and estar, but we can use any of these forms and the same would apply. Okay, so I could say, for example, if I said soy morena, this means I am brunette, I am dark-haired, dark-skinned, I am morena. Soy morena, I'm mixing up languages. If I say estoy morena, this means that by using estoy, which is here, I am, this means I am tanned, okay? So I might not necessarily be, quite dark-skinned or brunette, but I've been in the sun. So as a result of that, I am now tanned, okay? So it's temporary, it's the result of something. I've been in the sun. Here, soy morena, I am brunette. It's not the result of anything. It's just in my nature. It's intrinsic. That's how I am, okay? I hope this makes sense. Right, let's move to the next example. And now we're focusing on ser, okay? So the next example of ser is this. Let's look at this example. Esto es una silla. This is a chair. Aquello es un volcán. That is a volcano. What are we doing here? We are presenting. Yeah, we are presenting. We are saying what something is. What something is. So whenever we do this, we're going to use ser. Okay, if you think about it, it sort of relates to this. It's in its nature, it's intrinsic, it is what it is. It's not going to change. Something is not going to be a volcano one day and, I don't know, a fish pond another. It's a volcano, so that's it. Okay, so in a way, they are related. So if you're presenting something, you're saying what something is, we use is. Let's move to the next one. We've got soy inglés and Juan y Adela son de Argentina. Soy inglés, I am English. Juan and Adela are from Argentina. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about nationalities. Okay? Nationalities, or where something or someone or something are from. Okay? So where something or someone is from. So in that case, when you're talking about the origin of something, we will use ser. Okay, so soy inglés, son de Argentina. Use ser. Next example, ¿qué hora es? Son las 3. What am I doing here? What time is it? It is 3 o'clock. I am talking about time. So to talk about time, generally speaking, we will use ser. Okay, to tell the time. And then let's look at the last example that I've put here. I've got somos ingenieras and sois peluqueros. We are engineers and you guys are hairdressers. What am I talking about here? I'm talking about jobs. I'm talking about professions. Okay, jobs, professions. We use ser. Some might think, well, actually, but I don't know. I might say I might be working as I might be working as a journalist at one time in my life, and then at another time I might be a politician, and at another time I might work as a hairdresser. It is true that can change. It's not it's not necessarily permanent. But when we talk about jobs, when we say what someone does for a living, we use the verb ser. Okay, so these are the main uses of ser. There are others, and this video could go on for 3 hours, and I could go through every single specificity. But these are the main uses of ser. And then if we go back to estar, we've talked about temporary characteristics, and the other very common use of estar, the most common use of estar, is in this case here. So I've given you 3 examples. ¿Dónde están las llaves? Where are the keys? Estoy en Londres. I am in London. Mi casa está en el campo. My house is in the countryside. What's common to these 3 words? To these 3 sentences, what's common to them is that it's talking or it's referring to location, okay? Where something or someone is. So whenever we talk about location, where things, where people are, we're also going to use estar. Now, if you compare it to what we said about temporary characteristic, the result of something, this doesn't really seem too much, especially if we look at this last sentence, mi casa está en el campo, my house is in the countryside. It's unlikely that it's going to move. No. So this case of talking about location is completely unrelated to this thing about being temporary. Okay? So just think, whenever you want to say where something is, use estar. Okay? So these are, I hope it sort of makes sense, the main uses of these 2 verbs, ser and estar. So from now on, every time you want to say that something is, someone is, you need to stop for a second and think, do I need ser or do I need estar? What am I saying about it? Am I talking about something that's, am I describing the permanent characteristics of something? Use ser. Am I describing temporary characteristics? Use estar. Am I saying where something is? Use estar. Am I talking about jobs? Am I talking about times? I'm talking about nationalities. Am I presenting something? Use ser. Okay? So for a while, it's going to be a little long. It's going to get you thinking, quite a bit. But then bit by bit, you'll get into the swing of things and it just will come natural to you. Okay? So I hope it all makes sense. Thank you very much for your attention and have a very good day.